Got a 2012 Jeep Wrangler with a 3.6 complaint of oil leak. Well, what you want to do is you want to remove your engine cover. This would be considered with the Dodges too, with the 3.6, with that oil filter that's in the center of the engine on the top. So you want to remove the engine cover. You lift it up. You find two little nipples that stick up right here. So when you go back together, you want to put a little grease on them, and then you want to line up those in the back. What I did is I'll mark them on the top so you know exactly where they're at, so you can help line it up. Then you want to look down inside along the oil filter housing down here in the bottom and see if it's wet. If it's wet, then that's most likely where your oil leak's coming from. So then you want to get ready to remove your upper intake plenum. And at the same time, you might as well do spark plugs, because then you can have this plenum off so you can remove your coils and get access to your spark plugs, okay? So we're gonna remove this cover, and then we're gonna replace that oil filter housing. All right, so you wanna plan ahead, and you wanna order yourself a aluminum oil filter housing. It's got the filter housing, it's got a cooler, and it's got your temp switch and pressure switch. And those two things go bad also. So you're killing four things at one time actually, because you're upgrading this to aluminum and you're replacing the two sensors and you're fixing the oil leak. All right, it comes with the O-rings in the bottom and everything. And you're gonna lose your coolant, so be prepared to drain some coolant. Also comes with the intake plenum gasket, come with the bolts. That comes all in this kit. Got it from Amazon. See, I'll get you part number, Amazon. Okay, and I went and got some spark plugs, so I'll take care of that at the same time. All right, so let's get started. Okay, now you need to remove the air filter assembly with the induction tube. You got an 8mm hose clamp there going to the throttle body. You got two 10mm bolts here. Remove your overflow tubes from that. Got the 4 clips holding the air filter housing down. Remove your breather hose. Down below is a intake air temp sensor. Squeeze the little connector and unplug it. Pull your whole housing up. Set it aside. Get your air filter out of there. Replace it if it's dirty. Next, you want to do is take these hoses off. Take them out of the bracket. Okay. Then you got two 10mm bolts that go on these two studs. Got two 10mm bolts that go on those two studs. Okay. And then you got not bolts, nuts, okay? 4 nuts. Then you want to remove these 2 bolts that go to this bracket right here, okay? So when you undo the bracket, you want to take your door panel tool and you want to undo your harness clips, okay, from it. And you want to unplug your map sensor. You got to squeeze a little tab in, pull it off. Get these off of there, and you can remove this bracket. Okay, because you removed the 2 nuts and the 2 bolts, okay? Set them aside. Okay. Then you want to remove this piece off the back of the engine. Don't really have to, but it's easier. So you get your door panel tool, lift it up, and remove those clips off of there. Okay, because they clip into these brackets. Okay. Remove that, and remove the 2 bolts that hold these brackets on the top. They go in here. Okay, these are for your air engine cover. Okay, set them aside. All right, Get that done. Okay, next, what you want to do is remove these two 10mm head screws that go into the intake plenum below these hoses. Okay, they go right here into this bracket holding this wire harness. There's one here and one here. Okay, remove that. You can pull up on that bracket. Okay, it's holding that intake down, plenum down. Now you got 3 bolts on the top. These are 8mm. Loosen them up. They don't come out. They'll thread out, but they don't come straight out. Okay, and there's 4 on the bottom. 1, 2, 3. I think there's, no, it's just 4. There's 1 way in the back. You need to get an extension with a swivel on it, 1/4 inch. Remove them 4. Okay. Now the intake is loose. Okay. You could remove these studs, but the studs got little things on them. So get caught up and we'll figure this out. All right, next thing I did was I took a screwdriver, got inside here, I pried that bracket, pried it out, picked up the intake, got it out of there, lifted it up a little bit. I also took my bolts that I could get to, picked them up and screwed them in here just to thread. And those 3 also. And then I undid this electrical connector. Okay. Had to back off this red clip. This is one of those ones that got the little thing that turns. That white piece you'll be seeing sticking out turns. So what I did was I pushed in on this and I pulled it apart, and this gray plastic cover came off with it. So I got it separated. And then you want to get your door panel tool and remove the 2 clips that hold it into the intake. Okay. Now that you got this up a little bit, now that you got those bolts up, threaded in there like a thread, so they don't fall down and get stuck on the inside the lower intake. So now, hopefully everything's undone. I forgot to also tell you to unplug your throttle body when you do your bracket, darn it. Okay. Okay, so now that the intake is loose, you can pick it up over here and pull it towards you. Okay, and here it is. It's just sitting there, okay? Okay, here we are. So now you can get to your spark plugs, remove your coils, and replace your spark plugs. Okay? Same thing on this side. There's your coils, 1, 2, 3. All right. Now we gotta get to the lower intake that's down below here. We gotta get that off. Okay. What you wanna do is you wanna remove this one, just to get it out of the way, okay? This hose goes on the back of this head, on this breather, okay? I used angle needle nose to get back there to pry it off. It goes on there, okay? Like that. All right, take that out, place it aside. I'd like to remove that one too, but it's kind of a little bit farther over there. Maybe if I twist it up. And it ain't happening too much. Okay, but anyway, we'll get to it when we get to it. All right, so you want to undo your fuel line. You want to undo your little things that hold it onto the wire harness. And then you got, change these clips all the time. You want to lift up on this blue part. Got a little clip there, you lift it up. And on the other side, you lift it up and you pull the blue part up. Do not remove it, you'll break it. Okay, and this is all you gotta do is lift it up that far. When you lift it up that far, that allows you to push up on the white piece. And when you push up on the white piece, it releases it off of the fuel line right here. Okay? Goes on and clips on these little ridges right there. See them? Careful, this is plastic. You'll break it. Okay, now that you got that off, maybe you can get a little bungee and go around there and hold it up. Okay? Okay. I got wire harnesses off over here. Took them off the coils. Did all that, right? Get the fuel line off. Now you gotta come over to this side. This side, you need to have this bracket up out of the way. There's down here, inside there, below that battery box, there's two 10mm nuts going on some studs, but they are frozen, they won't come up. So what I need to do is get this heater hose out of the way, since we're gonna lose coolant anyway. So I'm gonna undo it down here, drain the coolant, undo it right here, remove that, so I can lift that whole heater hose assembly up out of the way. So I remove the clamp, stick a small screwdriver in there, spray some penetrant in there, and then I'll work it around. And that's how I get my hoses off the metals, or even the plastic, okay? Just work it, your screwdriver around and work it all the way around that you can. And then that'll help your hose come off and you can pull it off. Okay, so we're gonna get that off, get it up out of the way. Remove these two 10mm nuts off of the brackets. Get this hose up out of the way, and then I can bend that bracket up. Okay, got the heater hose up out of the way. Bent that bracket up. Now, inspecting, you need to undo the alternator, so you need to disconnect your battery. It's a 10mm. Loosen this one up. Twist it back and forth, pry it up, and then push it outside out of the way, okay? Then you can remove the connector on the alternator. You gotta pull this red connector up. Make sure you push both sides at the same time. You can use your door panel tool. Slide it up, and you can push that in and remove it. Now you need a 13 for the big terminal on the alternator. Okay, alternator is disconnected. Now you want to do is disconnect your 3 coils. Remember, you got to push in on tabs, pull them up. Then you want to undo the phasers. Undo the bottom one first. Same thing, it's on this side. Push it, squeeze it together, remove it, and then you can do this one. And then this whole thing can come up. Then you want to undo all your little brackets. There's 2 of them. One here, one there, and one there. You also want to stuff some rags down your intake ports just to keep the debris from falling in there. Sorry I didn't tell you that earlier. All right, so we'll do that. Okay, there were 3 retainers holding them on. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and then you want to disconnect your injectors. So you got to remove the little red piece, got to lift them up. Use your door panel tool, get underneath there, pry it up. Okay, then you can come over here. Once you got them all up, you can squeeze it and remove it. Ah, man, things are on there. Okay, so once you get them all removed, if you want, you can remove these too. Probably will have to. Okay, now that you got your intake ports got something stuffed in there, and you can take a blow gun and blow around and get all the dirt out of there. And then next you can remove the fuel injector rail bolts. Those are T30s. Okay, T30s, Torxes. All right. Remove those 4. Then get some brake clean, spray around your injectors at the intake, wiggle the injector rail, and then pull up on them. You'll pull that whole injector rail up out of there. Okay, 3 stayed, 3 came. All right, now you need to do is remove the lower intake. And that's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 bolts. Okay, and you had the other 4 from the injectors. All right, so we'll remove those. Okay, got all the bolts loose. And you can pull the intake up towards the front a little bit. And you got 2 harnesses attached to the back. One here and one there. One here and one there. Undo those 2. And now you got the intake. Okay? All right. Hey, look at the dirt that fell in there, huh? So, you know, watch out for that dirt. That's why you need to blow it out best you can. All right. Look inside your ports, make sure there's no dirt in there. Nothing big that fell down in there. Okay. And then here we are with this big bad boy. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean these up a little bit. I'm gonna put some duct tape on them. I'm gonna get a vacuum. I'm gonna vacuum up around the top, get all the debris so it don't fall down in there. Okay. All right, we got all the surfaces clean. Blow out the ports, blow out the bolt holes. Careful not to blow any air down here because it's full of oil. Okay, I did that and I got it all over the place. Okay. All right, so now you got it cleaned up. Put some duct tape over it or some painter's tape, so you don't get no more dirt down in there. Okay. Then we'll have to unbolt it and lift it up and we'll unplug everything. I can unplug that now since it's sturdy enough and ain't gonna move on me, so I can at least get that red piece, that lock off of there. Okay, I got the coolant sensor off. It's right here. Pull that back and then push down a little tab. Oil pressure switch. There's no lock on this one, so I don't know if it comes with one or not, but it's also got a tab. What I did was, got my angle pick in there, got it inside here, pulled it up and then pulled the connector off, okay? That's how I did that. Okay, next you wanna do is remove this heater hose. Remember, remove the clamp, put this little screwdriver in there, spray with some penetrant, work it around, pull it off. Okay, then you wanna remove the 5 bolts holding this housing on, and that's an 8, inverted Torx 8, okay? Loosen all those bolts. They're not gonna come off. They're not gonna come out, so loosen them up. And then grab hold of this thing and wiggle it back and forth and pull on it, and then it'll come up. And you get the whole thing up out of there like that. Okay? Ugh, drip oil everywhere. You're gonna drip oil everywhere, so be careful with it. All right, and you wanna put that in a separate pan and let it drip. This is because it's nasty. Okay? All right. Let's see. That's cool, and there's oil up here. So, can leak coolant and oil from up on top. And this one goes inside the block. That O-ring is pretty flat. It's got a little bit, but it's pretty flat too. You want to look at it and get an idea of what's leaking on it, okay? Now you come over here. Remember that port that I was telling you about that went inside the block right there? That's that one. And I don't know what that thing is. Must be a knock sensor maybe. Yeah. But we gotta get that all cleaned up. you're gonna spray some brake clean, make sure you don't spray it in the holes. And if you spray it, don't spray any inside your intake ports, your head ports, because it'll eventually clog up your, foul out your spark plugs if you put too much in there. All right, so clean it up and clean up the surfaces where the O-rings go, and then we'll prep our new one and get that ready.